Sinners, the 2025 hit movie from director Ryan Coogler starring Michael B. Jordan, attacks the notion of genre and categories. Sinners tells the story of twin gangster brothers creating a nightclub in segregated Mississippi with the help from everyone they know for an all-out night. Unbeknownst to them, this all-out night faces supernatural threats. Sinners pulls together many vibes that a viewer can connect with. Sinners director Ryan Coogler put out a letter of his influences for this movie. The influences range widely for the traces they left in Sinners. Let's talk about some of those traces and share movies that connect with the vibes of Sinners. I'd argue for three threads that connect with Sinners: Southern Gothic movies, horror noir stories, and music movies. Sinners takes place in an unvarnished version of the American South. Thus, we can connect Sinners to Southern Gothic stories. Gothic fiction is hard to describe. The classic works of Gothic fiction like Jane Eyre and Rebecca tell stories that make you feel the darkness underneath people and places, as if they're haunted. Southern Gothic stories take that feeling and bring it to the American South in works by Mississippi writer Eudora Welty, who receives a shout-out in Coogler's influences letter. Sinners uses Southern Gothic vibes to show these characters in a world where something dark and sinister seems to lurk, supernatural or not. The Night of the Hunter encapsulates this vibe without the supernatural elements. The sole directorial effort of lauded English actor Charles Laughton. The Night of the Hunter follows Harry Powell, a convict who aims to woo the widow of a deceased cellmate to steal money the cellmate hid. We follow Powell, played by actor and actual ex-chain gang convict Robert Mitchum, and his journey in convincing local townspeople of his good nature, including the widow, Willa Harper, played by Shelley Winters. Willa's little children, however, can tell that Powell has a dark intention, and after escaping, they find refuge with Rachel Cooper, an older matriarch of Foster's played by silent film star Lillian Gish. Despite not showing any rated R content, The Night of the Hunter has a haunting feel, with expressionistic lighting. Despite less enthusiastic initial reviews, The Night of the Hunter influenced everyone, including Spike Lee, who adapted Powell's love and hate dialogue for Do the Right Thing.
Let me tell you the story of right hand, left hand. It's a tale of good and evil.
Staring at my finger. Would you like me to tell you the little story of right hand, left hand? The story of good and evil?
Another Southern Gothic movie to consider, Eve's Bayou, the 1997 directorial debut of Kasi Lemmons, starring Samuel L. Jackson and a young Janae Smollett. Eve's Bayou tells the story of a respectable family with a precocious daughter played by Smollett that unravels as Smollett's Eve Baptiste discovers a darkness in her family. I do not want to reveal too much of the plot here, but Eve's Bayou does go dark, and goes dark to bring up the ultimate point of a Southern Gothic story. Everyone lives with shadows and things that haunt them. In this, Eve's Bayou pairs well with Sinners. The thread most people pull for Sinners is horror noir. Quote, horror noir refers to the black experience in horror movies and horror stories. Horror noir movies that range from The Night of the Living Dead to movies of Jordan Peele foreground an American cultural experience in the construction of scary stories. Even a B-movie like Blackula tells a more complicated story of an African prince preyed upon and exploited by another vampire. Sinners connects with the stories coming from horror noir films like Ganja and Hess, the 1973 Bill Gunn film. Starring Night of the Living Dead star Dwayne Jones, the film shirks a more blaxploitation pose for folk horror. An anthropologist researching an ancient African society of blood drinkers becomes a vampire when stabbed by an ancient dagger. This film, while more experimental, tells a story of Hess similar to Sinners' Sammy Moore, played by Miles Caton, of someone in between the lure of power and the desire for the light. While many horror and horror noir movies have threads to Sinners, a better thread to explore is horror and horror noir literature. Coogler shares gratitude for directors like Bill Gunn, but also novelists like horror writer Stephen Graham Jones. Victor LaValle's books like The Changeling, Lone Woman, and The Ballad of Black Tom take place in historical periods like Sinners and tell horror stories about places with dark secrets and characters transformed by the things they cannot let go. In Afro-Canadian C.L. Polk's novella, Even Though I Knew the End, Polk uses a 1930s and 1940s noir-style story, but with witchcraft and the supernatural to show characters held by their own demons. Finally, let's talk about how Sinners features a plot around building a juke joint that really gets people moving and feeling the music. The movie uses its lighting, production design, and blues music to evoke the vibe of hard-working people letting everything they hold in loose. Sinners may pair less with other blues and jazz movies about musicians, but Sinners pairs better with movies that show how music, regardless of genre, allows people a sense of letting go from daily life. Thus, movies like Lackawanna Blues or The Cotton Club, and their stories of characters finding a sense of freedom and authenticity in music, might pair better with Sinners. But a movie I think pairs well with Sinners is Lovers Rock. Lovers Rock came second in an anthology of fairly short features titled Small Acts from director Steve McQueen. McQueen, who directed 12 Years a Slave and Widows, directed this anthology about the experiences of Afro-Caribbean immigrants and Black British people in the United Kingdom. In the same way that Sinners follows the work of twin brothers Smoke and Stack in creating the ultimate juke joint for one freeing day, Lovers Rock follows the development of a house party hosted by Caribbean immigrants. During the 1970s and 1980s, many Black British people were not allowed in clubs around the UK, so they hosted their own, quote, blues parties or house parties with music, Caribbean food made by locals, and their friends dressing up their best and hanging out. While Lovers Rock deviates from Sinners in simply offering a romantic story between characters Martha and Franklin, played by Amara J. St. Auburn and Michael Ward, respectively, it connects with Sinners in the carpe diem feel of letting the music take over for one night in a difficult world. Sinners defies genres, yet it does not defy connections. Coogler aimed to create a film that is hard to compare, but also bears traces from so many of the stories we love and share. Like Smoke and Stack's juke joint, Sinners and its connections provide space to feel part of something larger.